joining me today. From Australia. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Rosemary Mpambwa, and I'll be taking you on a journey to talk about how trauma shows up in relationships. How does trauma show up in relationships? So, for those that don't know me, my name is Rosemary Mpambwa, and I'm a relationship coach, and I also host retreats. I am even planning to have a 3-day masterclass in a couple of days, so watch out for that. Today's topic, understanding relationship trauma. How does trauma show up in relationships? A lot of people always ask me, how does trauma show up in the relationship, Rose? And how do I know I was traumatized before? Relationship trauma is emotional pain that lingers from past unhealthy relationships. It can be caused by betrayal, abandonment, abuse, emotional neglect, and repeated conflict in relationships. This could be with your spouse or with families or even with colleagues at work. So, relationship trauma it shows up most of the times unexpectedly, or it's usually triggered by something that you experienced before. So let's dive deep into how does it show up? How does the relationship trauma shows up? Often this trauma doesn't just disappear. Let me make that clear. Trauma doesn't just disappear because a lot of people always think, you know what, with time, it's going to disappear. But it will not just disappear. What it will do is it will show up unexpectedly. Unexpectedly, it will show up. It also shows up in your current relationship if you don't deal with it. So, the first one, how it will show up is the flashbacks. Something is said during a conversation, either in passing or a one-on-one conversation with either your friends or your relatives or your spouse, or even on a date. Even on a date, it can be triggered. So flashbacks are, incidences where you are reliving the painful moments, and they are always triggered by small things like a tone of voice or a phrase that's said, or even a smell of perfume or cologne, or some environments. You go to a restaurant where somebody said very bad things, or you go to a restaurant where your partner abused you. So when you get there next time, you get triggered. Number two, you start to overthink a lot of things. You overprocess a lot of things, and you are always hyper vigilant, constantly replaying what went wrong, and you always start to doubt yourself. For example, somebody said some very bad things to you, or your spouse, your ex said, you know what, you are not even worth my time. You are so ugly that no other man will ever love you, or nobody else is going to love you. I loved you because I felt sorry for you. Or somebody will say, you are so ugly, that's why you are not getting a man. So every time when you look at yourself in the mirror, you start over processing. So I am so ugly. Wow, I didn't know I was ugly. I thought I was beautiful. So because of that, every time you see yourself among other people, you are always starting to have these self-limiting beliefs, and you doubt yourself being in public because you think, what am I good at? I don't think I will ever be able to find love because of the things that were said before. Number three, fear of trust, right? Fear of trust. You put up walls and you assume that every guy that's gonna come into your life will hurt you the same way as your ex. You put up walls to a point where you can't even trust your own family members. You can't trust anybody else, even saying anything to you, because you always feel, what's the point? People have really uh, abused me or I don't even trust anybody anymore because of the things, of the hurtful things that will have been said to you. You can't trust yourself being in a relationship again because of the things that you went through. And this could be childhood trauma. Growing up, you always felt betrayed by people. You shared some secrets with some people, and then you hear the same things being spoken about in other environments that you didn't expect that these people know about um, the things that you had shared with a friend, for example. Number four, you start to self-sabotage yourself in relationships everywhere. You start to self-sabotage yourself. You start pulling yourself away in the relationships in order for you to protect yourself from uh, future heartbreaks. So a relationship is going well, but because you still have that fear and you just don't want to be hurt, what do? You start self-sabotaging that relationship and you break up with the person before you even give them a chance to prove themselves because you just don't want to be hurt. You are so hyper vigilant that instead of you waiting for somebody to break up with you, you break up with them first before you get a heartbreak. And sometimes you always do it when there's nothing really wrong with the other guy or with the other person. This also happens with friendships. You are friends with somebody, and then you just assume that, oh my goodness, they are not really being good friends. They probably said something to you, trying to help you or to correct you on things that you did. But because you were hurt before and you heard the same phrases being used by that person who is trying to give you um, constructive criticism. But for you, because you have all these hurts in your subconscious mind, this is going to come up again in these conversations. And you think, you know what, I better pull out first before they pull the trigger at me or before they decide to break up with me. And you lose a lot of relationships, good friendships, good relationships, even good business partners, because you always think, oh my goodness, these guys are going to self-sabotage. No, these guys are going to destroy my reputation, or they are going to destroy my business. And all this is just happening because you are hyper vigilant. There is no real proof that these guys are going to um, hurt your business or anything. The last one is low self-worth. When you have been hurt so much, and when you are dealing with so much trauma, right? So much trauma in your life, you feel like, am I even worth anything if I can't even keep a relationship? Am I even worth anything if I can't even get along with my own mother or my own sisters or my own work colleagues? And you start believing that you are too much or you are not enough for people to love you, or even for you to be in a healthy relationship. And you start doubting yourself, and your confidence just blanks. You have such low confidence that you don't even feel worth of anybody loving you. Now, the affirmation that I want you to start using so that you can help yourself to get out of this, so that you can start healing. What you need is to talk to somebody about whatever happened to you in your previous relationship, or relationship with your sisters or with your family members, so that you can deal with that trauma. Because hurt people hurt others. The affirmation that I want you to start using is, I am no longer defined by my past hurts. I release old patterns and make space for healthy relationships. This alone is going to help you to start dealing with everything that's going on in your life, because you really need to take care of those previous relationship traumas before you even start looking for love. You really need to be able to heal from the past, so that you are able to start either looking for love or create new relationships. These could be business relationships, or even the relationships with your family members. It just doesn't apply to spouses, but also family members. Also, take a moment to write down whatever happened to you, the pains that you have gone through from your previous relationships, even with family members. Then reframe everything that happened to say, you know what, this was a lesson. What did I learn from this? And if it was somebody that broke up with you and he left you, what I want you to say is, he's living my life, has opened space for me to grow and find my voice again, and find a new love that is going to be worth my time, somebody who is going to be able to love me for who I am. And another affirmation I want you to use is, I release the past and I receive healing, and I am willing to deal with this so that I can learn from them. Okay, so this is all that I had for you today, and I hope this answers your questions about how trauma affects your relationships and how trauma shows up even in our daily lives. A lot of people have been asking about this, and I thought I should have um, a, a session on how trauma shows up in our lives, whether it's business or is personal relationships. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you have any questions, please send them in my DM. And also share this with your friends and relatives and anybody that you feel really needed to understand how trauma shows up in our daily lives. And thank you so much. I will see you again next week, same time. Bye bye for now.